think I probably said before, and I'll go ahead and say it again now, that I've heard people in past indicate that it's not so bright to talk about yourself when you're doing a podcast or similar thing. And I have to tell you something, I disagree. The deepest wellspring of experience for most of us is what's happened in our personal lives. And when you become sort of self-aware, you begin to realize certain things about yourself. Well, one of the things that I realized about myself is there have been times when I have not done a good job respecting people that were older than I am. Okay? But at the same time, I also have come to realize that there are people who have made it their business to say things that, if whether they realize it or not, are belittling to me, and some of those people are older than I am. And that's why I wanted to talk today on the subject of age is not an excuse on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 18th of October of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. And again, we're going to talk on the subject of age is not an excuse, and I, as usual, am going to go through my notes so you have some idea where I find myself in this conversation today. I'm starting to get to that point where I can call myself old. Granted, I'm not retirement age or anything like that, but I've had grown children for more than 10 years. Let me just hand you older folks a clue. Where even people like me, who are getting on in years, should respect you, particularly if we want the same sort of behavior to be applied to ourselves, but frankly, regardless that, using your age as an excuse to try and shame or otherwise berate younger folks is, frankly, inexcusable. It's one thing to teach, to impart knowledge, to help others to understand. It's entirely another, though, to talk down, call stupid or crazy those younger than you because they don't agree with you. There are very likely people your age or older who agree with those younger folks. Do you owe them no respect? Yet you choose to use your elderly status as a basis for abuse of those younger than yourselves, if that's what you do. Have you so quickly forgotten the old saw, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar? Where I will continue to do my level best to listen to folks older than me and pay them due respect, that doesn't mean I have to agree with them or support what they say. The fact that I'm getting older doesn't afford me the right to treat folks younger than myself badly any more than it does them to do so to me or others. That doesn't mean I have to agree with them, obviously, either. Though that's the case, when I was younger, I held bad perspectives, and where I'd like to help folks who do so now to learn where their ideas are broken or wrong, that doesn't mean trashing them in the process. So you're older than me? Teach me. Show me how I'm wrong in what I believe. Talk with me. Bring me to rights. All that said, please do not assume I'm going to respond civilly, or I'm not going to respond, civilly, when you bring me what you consider correction. Most important takeaway from this? Well, what I hope you get out of it is age is not an excuse. As I say, I'm getting older. And I really appreciate it when people who are younger than me show their respect for me as an older person. I don't get it all the time, and I don't expect it all the time. My own son doesn't really understand what that respect should look like, what it means, or anything else. Is he trying to be rude? In fact, he has a sort of built-in excuse, being moderately autistic. He isn't trying to be rude at all. He just doesn't really understand that respect is something that's considered due to older people due to the fact that they've lived longer and hopefully picked up some stuff along the way. And frankly, there are some others, though not very many. For the most part, I find most younger folks are actually fairly respectful to me. If I treat them properly, if I treat them right like a person ought to do, I find most of them respect me just fine, and I don't really have much of a problem with that. But what I want people to understand is I don't ever want to get to the place where I say, because I'm older, that's why. If I can't show you where and why what I say is correct. And even if I can, I should not be belittling you. I should not be demeaning you. I should not be treating you badly. That's whether you're my age, you're younger, or you're older. I just shouldn't be doing it. As a rule, this really isn't even about age, but I do notice that there are certain people who, as they've gotten older, have become more crotchety and less willing to hear others out without demeaning or belittling those individuals in the process. Look, here's the thing. You're older. The chances are you do have some knowledge that, say, for example, I don't have, though I'm getting to the point where that's going to be less true over the course of time. It still is true. Here's the thing. If you, in fact, are supposedly better than me, then you need to act like it. And I don't say that to be mean, and I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. What I'm trying to say to you is, if you're truly so much better than I am, there shouldn't be a need for you to belittle me. Okay? And that you can think what you want about whether, well, I'm 82 and you're only in your 50s, so you should be listening to me. No, I'll listen to you when you prove that you have something to say that I haven't heard before and that I don't already have an answer for. If you give me something that I've dealt with, that I've talked about, that I've worked with before, and I can tell you directly why it is that what you're saying is incorrect, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't just count on the idea that I'm going to accept what you're saying carte blanche. It's not going to happen. And by the way, let me just make something quite plain to you. I don't expect you to do that for me if you're older or younger. I expect you to look at what I say, and I expect you to answer with what you believe and count true in a civil conversation. It can be an argument. I'm okay with argument, but it should be civil. Okay? It should be civil. This is the most important thing that I have to say to anybody, but particularly if you're older and you're treating younger people like garbage because those younger people seem to be inexperienced or unknowledgeable or whatever it happens to be, I'm sorry, but that's inappropriate. You were that same person 20 or 30 years ago yourself, maybe longer, maybe 40, but nonetheless. Right? You were that same person. Look, the funny thing about it is it was 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, almost 40 years ago, that I was 20. So when I look at a 20-something, most of the time I look at them and I think of them, quite frankly, as somebody who's closer to 14 than to 20. Now, there are a couple of reasons for that. Or certainly closer to 14 than my age by a substantial margin. There are a couple reasons for that. One, because people don't have to grow up as quickly now, even as they had to do when I was a young man, and I didn't have to grow up nearly as quickly as my elders, my parents and grandparents and so forth. But the point of all of this is, even though I see them in that light, I do not assume that it's proper for me to treat them badly just because I'm older than they are. In fact, I really don't assume that it's my right to treat them badly at all. And I would argue that you should be in that same place, that you shouldn't assume just because you're older that your age is some sort of an excuse that allows you to act badly towards people around you. It's just not. You may be frustrated, you may be scared with where you are right now. I get that. I get it. And I'm not trying to cut you down for that. You go from a place of relative popularity and being the big dog on the block to being somebody that mostly people don't pay attention to anymore. I'm sorry that's true. And by the way, people are wrong for doing that. If I do that, I'm wrong. But age is not an excuse. Not being young, not being old, neither thing is an excuse. This is what I want for you to understand. Okay, I'm about out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Monday, the 18th of October of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Tuesday, the 19th of October of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. There I go. Welcome again. Rumble is my preferred platform, as I'm sure you've figured out by now, because I say it pretty much every day in my video. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble for a positive feedback. You can give me a minus on Rumble for a negative one if you feel the need to do that. You can give me a thumbs up or a like on YouTube if you want to do that as a positive feedback. You can give me a negative feedback, which would be the thumbs down or dislike on YouTube if you feel the need. Remember, I would love if you comment because it helps me to know better how to to put out what I'm putting out there for various people who are watching what I'm doing. Hope you're having a good day today, this Monday, this beginning of the normal work week for most folks. Hope things are going well for you in general, and hopefully we will see you again on Tuesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Monday, October 18th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.